Welcome, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. This is another Shop Talk episode. This is episode number 5, and we are very, very excited to have you with us. Today, we've got a special guest. Dominique Bouchon is with us. Volki Elkavan may be joining us a little bit later on. We're not quite sure yet, but both are here to talk to us about the SDK and API. So these are things that are going to profoundly enhance Matterport's platform. So this is actually really, really important stuff and very, very cool. You'll get a sneak peek at some of the things that we've been working on the back end and just kind of give you a sense of what's coming and what's possible and all that. So even if you're not an SDK and API expert, I do highly recommend that you stick around just to get a glimpse of, the vision of Matterport and where we're taking this thing, where we're going, the platform that we're building, and some of the things that are going to be possible in the very near future. So really exciting stuff. So that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, Dominique Bouchon is with us, and let's go. Dominique, welcome to Shop Talk. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Amir. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here today and be able to talk about, again, our developer program, as you said. If you want to go to the next slide. So to me, it's really exciting, and maybe some of you looking at us right now have already been part of the beta version of this program. We launched a beta version of it a few months ago for the API, a little earlier even for the SDK. And what we are doing right now, we are in the process of fully productizing this offering so that we can offer access to the API SDK to more customers and more partners. And I'm going to cover that in a minute. Very excited about this program because personally, I think that will be transformational for Matterport. It will enable our partners and customers to create new use cases because we at Matterport, we can only build so much. We are really building the platform. We are creating an open platform that gives access really to all of the data we have about the spaces. But what we want is to partner with our customers and partners to build on top of it some amazing applications to deliver new use cases. So that's one of the big focus. The other one is also working with our customers. We want to make sure also to help create efficiencies so that, again, our main customers, our key, the biggest one, I guess, that have more needs for automations and efficiency can integrate with our platform using the set of APIs that I'm going to cover a little later in this presentation and can be more efficient in managing all of the aspects of their Matterport workflow. Some of the examples that I'm going to talk about and a little bit explain how our program can help achieve those is workflow automation. It's extending our showcase 3D player. So we offer a very strong 3D player that has a lot of functionalities. But if you want to do even more, if you want to customize with your own site, your own use case, if you want to create a unique experience for your customers, again, that's all available to you. We are going to cover that. Creation of derived assets. We create some assets, as you know, when you take a capture with our Pro2 camera or the BLK, you can have access to Matterpack, you have access to the OBJ, the XYZ file, the point cloud as well. And for your own application, sometimes you need access to those assets. That's great. In some industries, you need to deliver some different type of assets based on the one that we provide. And again, using the API, now you have access to this. You could create your own assets and maybe offer that to our customers. We're going to come back to that in a minute. And last but not least, integrations. As a whole, the beauty of the API, you have access to it. You can integrate with your solutions, your platform. And so the applications are really limitless. And just to make a point, we, Matterport, we are building that platform. We are opening the platform using API and SDK. We want to give the power that comes with it to our customers and partners. And it's up to you out there now to think out of the box, create your own applications to deliver on your own use cases. And where really, I believe this is limitless. So on the next slide, I would like to take the rest of the presentations. And again, at the end, we will have a Q&A session, so you will be able to ask your questions. But I would like to take the next 20 minutes or so to really try to explain what tools we are going to launch full speed. Again, those were in beta until now, but we are expanding them and making them easily accessible. So what tools we are launching and what are the key capabilities and functionalities and differences that you can use those two capabilities for. So on the left side on these slides, just very high level, our model API. So an API, most of you may know that, but API, that's a programmatic functions that allows to connect your own system, your own backend, your own solutions to our Matterport's backend. So data connections directly into the backend. The security and authentication is done via what we call an API token. At the end of these presentations, I will explain how you can get started and get access to this. And the API directly connects to our data store. On the right side, Showcase SDK. So the Showcase SDK is also a programmatic language, but very different from the API. The Showcase SDK affects the experience in Showcase, our 3D player. And the idea is that you embed Showcase on your site, like most of our customers do, but then you can use the SDK to enhance and customize on that site, on that page, the experience with Showcase. I'll go into the details in a minute on the Showcase SDK, but first I will start digging down on the model API. And so yes, we are going to start with the model API. As I mentioned a minute ago, direct data connections between your own system and the Matterport data stores and systems. It allows to automate a lot of things. Essentially, it gives you access to the data that we have in our data stores. It's a direct connection, so something I would like to stress for the developer out there is that when you use our API from your system, again, everything that you do with the API is directly affects the data in our systems for your models. So it's a one-way street, right? So you launch data, you want to write data, you want to read data. It's directly from our systems. Any updates, for example, that you do using the API on your data directly affects the data in our system. So it's there for everybody to see once you have done those updates in our system. On the opposite, the Showcase SDK that we will see a little later affects more only the experience on the page where the SDK is, so it's more transient. We are going to deep dive on that in the second part of this presentation. But starting with the model API, I would like to spend some time on the next slide to explain a little bit the key functionalities. The API, as I said, has been available in beta since, I think, December. So for the past 6 to 8 months now. So some of our customers and partners have had access to it and played with it. We are keeping adding new functionalities to it. But what I would like to cover is what is already available, and I can talk about what's coming up as well. So using the API, again, direct connections to our data stores so that you can access the data about your models in your account and automate processes. So the thing that you can do is first you can search and access all of the data about your model. And this is important because that allows you, for example, if you do a search on all of your models on a regular basis, you can find specific models programmatically. Maybe on your side, you have some other applications, you want to do something with your model. And so it's important to be able to find them. And you can use any criteria, any information we have about your models to find the right one. For example, the name, the street address, or if you are using the internal ID field during captures, you can use that one to, again, retrieve information about a specific model. The other thing that you can do is to use the search functionality just to poll your whole account, get a full list of models. And if you do that on a regular basis, let's say once a day, very easy for you also to find the diff, identify the new models that have been added or removed from your account on a regular basis, so that you can, again, trigger maybe some specific workflow on your side based on the new models being created. That's an example. So that was for search. Another thing that you can do is access any data. And so I'm just mentioning a few here, but everything which is the model details. So that's if you come to our site in my.matterport.com to a model page, there is a tab that is called details where you can edit the address, the name, the IDs, a variety of informations. All of these are accessible via API, and you can update any of those as well via the API. You can also download many of the assets we have about the species, from the mesh to the point cloud, any of the other assets that we make available, like the photos that we auto-generate or that you can take in workshop, the clips, meaning those 3 short videos we automatically generate, they're all available via the API, Matterport, schematic for plants, and so on. So you can see the list on the screen here, but essentially pretty much everything we have about models, we expose those via the API. And also you can, it's possible, yes, sorry, for our partners who decides to build an applications to create a new type of assets, it's possible also by partnering with us to use the APIs to be able to create a new asset that would be made available on demand to customers based on an agreement we would have with our partners. A couple of other things I want to mention. The model lifecycle management, that's a request and an ask that I got in the past from many customers. So what that means is that using the API, again, programmatically, this is very powerful, you can control the states of the models, meaning that you can switch a model from public to private and vice versa, of course. You can archive or reactivate a model, and you can, of course, grab the sharing, the showcase URLs with all of the options that we have on our site. So the embed URL with different types of parameters. So that's all available via the API as well. Again, with the spirit to help you completely automate the life cycle of your models. Last, I want to mention, as you know, some of our assets are transactional, meaning they come at a price. For example, when you come to our site, you can order floor plans, you can order matter packs. So those actions, those transactions are also available via API. So using the API, you can order those same assets and of course get access to the assets that you are buying. So in the same way that you can do it on the sites, you can now automate from your site based on your workflow or your application that you are building access to buying these assets as well. As we are onboarding new partners and those partners are going to offer additional assets, those will also be available via API. And now I would like just to cover a few examples just to give an idea of what we are talking about. Particularly, it may be helpful for the audience here that is less familiar with programmatic languages. So first examples, Amir, on the next slide. It's a very simple, and I know it's an eye chart. I'm going to describe what is on the screen, but this one is just to explain that it's possible to retrieve assets very simply. Our API is what we call, so for the developers out there, is what we call a Graphql API. This is very powerful. It's very similar, again, talking to the coders out there, very similar to a REST API, except it's a little more powerful and it allows to some extent to build queries as part of an API call and to be able to achieve both updates of data that we call mutations and to retrieve some data at the same time. So very powerful. What I'm showing you on the screen is what we refer to as the interactive console. That's something that is available on the site, on our site today. At the end of the presentations, when I explain how to get started, I will give you a pointer to it. But as you can see on the left side of the console, you can enter basically a GraphQL query, and on the right side, you get the results. This simple example just shows how you can easily retrieve any assets for a model. Here, I'm retrieving clips, which means those 3 short videos. I can specify the data that I want to retrieve about those videos. In these examples, I listed the ID, the width, the label, and so on, including the file, the URL, of course. And when I execute that query on the right side, I get the results, all of the data that I requested, as well as the links to retrieve, in this case, to download the 3 videos that are tied to this specific model I queried. If we go to the next example, it's a little bit more evolved. So this one is again a search capability. So we create in the GraphQL language, these are called queries. So here we have a query call, and what this does is a little more advanced. So here there are some parameters. For example, we are asking or querying our models that are in a specific zip code. And also, same story, we are specifying which data points we would like to get about the models that match the search criteria. Again, search criteria here being a specific zip code. And what we want to know about those models is, for example, the visibility, the name, visibility meaning either public or private, the name, and a bunch of other informations about these specific models. And as you can see on the right side, all of that information is returned by the API. Here again, showing that in the interactive console, in real life for developers, this would be all part of your own code that you would implement in your own systems. You would send those calls and you would retrieve those answers from our API, and then you can take it from there and do whatever you need to do with it, for example, to sync up some information in your internal system. The last examples next is a little more combinations, and that's to illustrate the power of the GraphQL API. As I mentioned a minute ago, GraphQL very powerful because you can essentially create some queries, some combinations that do both transformation of data, so mutations, as well as retrieving some data all at the same time in one call. And this example here illustrates how you can do that. Here, I think we are doing some purchase of the matter packs. We are retrieving at the same time the URL to those matter packs, and we are transforming, we are ordering also, I believe, some maybe floor plans. And again, all of the informations that we specify which one are exposed in the response. So it's both combinations of updating some data, ordering some assets, and getting specific pieces of information in return that we specify in the response, all of that in a single call. So you can imagine it's pretty powerful. To finish on the API, I just would like to illustrate how this can be used in real life. And again, I know on your screen, it may be a little bit of an eye chart, so I'm going to describe. But essentially, this is a very, very typical workflow that some of our customers in real estate are going through for every single models. And traditionally, all of that workflow to update some data and to sync some data between our customers' internal systems and the Matterport system, traditionally, that's a top line. Most of these actions are done manually. And some of our largest customers, they literally have employees whose full job is to every day to perform those manual activities. So very quickly, from checking the status of a new model, has it been processed, is it ready? Then to looking at information in the company site itself, and then starting to do some manual sync-up, which means copying, pasting details, account details, copy model details, some IDs between our IDs, Matterport's IDs, and the company's IDs in their own system. So all of that being done manually, setting up the models as public, copying the URL, putting it in another systems on our customer side. So all of these items that are in dark gray on my screen are done manually, traditionally. Using the API, I'm not going to go into the details, but you can see the bottom line. Essentially, most of those boxes disappear because they can all be automated with the API. Updating the IDs, again, finding the models. So leveraging some of the capabilities I went over, all can be done with the API. The next example below. So I'm not going to go over that one in details, but that's the same idea. Some of our customers in the construction industry, same thing, they need to go through repetitive tasks, manual tasks today, and there are multiple steps, as you can see on my screen, to fully make a model ready to be used in that specific company. So now with the API, it doesn't mean that everything goes away. As you can see, there are still a few boxes out there, but most of those steps are automated. And you can think it's really a gain of time. So your models get ready and can be used much faster if you automate those steps. It's also more efficient use of your internal resources instead of having an army of people just copying, pasting data, you can now use these resources to do some more interesting work on your site. So again, big efficiency gain that you can get with the API. So that's workflow automations. I already mentioned before, you can also use the API to create some new assets or to provide additional services to customers. Now I'm going to switch to the SDK, which is the next sections. Okay, and so the SDK, we covered that at the beginning, very different from the API. Everything I talked about the API was about connecting your systems to ours to do essentially data transfer or data updates. Here, SDK very different. Doesn't affect the data in our data store. There is no connections to our data store. What the SDK does is to provide, again, an additional layer on top of our 3D player showcase that you traditionally embed on your pages so that you can customize the experience, make it unique, and yes, access some data. I'm going to go over that, but data that relates to the 3D, to playing your model in 3D on your site. The one thing I want to highlight also for the developers out there, because the SDK lives on a page, so meaning you embed showcase on one page on your site, you deploy our SDK on that same page and you do your coding on that page, anything that you do with the SDK will affect only the experience on that one page. So it has pros and cons. One of the advantages is that means you can have different experience for different users or maybe different sites that you own, because again, you can, even for a same model, you can customize the experience independently on different pages using the SDK. The other thing is that if really you want to replicate the same SDK experience on multiple pages, there are ways to do that. You can essentially record or save the code and the activity that is happening in one session for one SDK, and you can replay that same information on other pages that where you deployed the SDK as well, so that the experience be the same. So that's possible as well. You have flexibility on what you want to do. If we go to the next page, before I show you a few examples, I want to highlight also that we have two flavors of SDKs. There is a more, I would say, basic one. That's what we call SDK for Embeds. And this allows you to do many things already. You can manage the interactions. We are going to show a few examples in a minute where you have some activities on your page that you can connect that activity to the experience in Showcase. For example, you want to be able to move someone to specific locations based on what's happening on your page in your experience. You can do that with the SDK. You can manage annotations, so our matter tags. You can change the content, create some, move them. You have full access to it. You can even use your own images as the target for a matter tag instead of the circles that are the default targets. You can have your own image so that it's related to your brand, for example. You can even inject some HTML and JavaScript into the matter tags. That's something that is relatively new. Actually, we launched that less than a month ago. So instead of being restricted to the templates that we have for our matter tags, now you have essentially full control to put whatever you want in the matter tags. And also very important, our SDK exposes what we call events about anything that is happening in the space, in the showcase experience. And so if you listen to those events, again, programmatically using the SDK, you can detect everything pretty much that is happening in the space. So you can know, for example, where the user is moving, are they entering a different sweep, are they close to a specific matter tag? So all of that information is exposed, and it's up to you to grab that information, record it, and it can be to maybe trigger some experience on your site, unique experience. So that's great, you can do that. It can be, for example, and we'll see that in a minute, if the user is close to a specific placement in the space, you may want on your page outside of Showcase now to show some information related to where the user is. So that's, again, something that is possible. You can also just decide to remember to store that information that was exposed by the SDK for your own analytics system. So if you track, basically listening to those events that are exposed by the SDK, if you track where each user is going, you can save that information. You can get some some aggregate information based on all of those events that you save to get an idea, a better idea on how users are using the space, where they are spending time, what they are interested in. You can even remember if you want that information at the user level, if you want to do retargeting or some other activities, post-experience activities with those users, up to you. That was about the SDK for embeds. Now we have another flavor that we call SDK Bundle. The SDK Bundle, the big difference is that the SDK Bundles gives you access to the mesh, the geometric information that is within Showcase directly. SDK for Embed, you can do everything that I covered so far, but you don't have access to the OBJ directly. SDK Bundle, you can do everything because it's built on top of the SDK for Embed, but it gives you access to the geometry, to the OBJ that is in Showcase directly. So what does that mean? It means that now you have access to directly to the 3D representation of our spaces, and you can start creating experiences based on that. Examples of capabilities that you can leverage with the bundles are 3D object insertions. 3D object insertion, that means that if you have a 3D object, and that 3D object can be a virtual piece of furniture that you have on your side. If you are in another industry, let's say big industrial industries, maybe, and it's very common, you have a big 3D representation of a piece of equipment, and you would like to see how it fits into one of your spaces that you captured with us. So now using the SDK bundle, you can do that. You can insert that 3D object and you can place it where you want in the models, move it around, see where it fits, and maybe if it doesn't fit, which would be interesting to know. So that's, again, something you can do using 3D object insertions with a bundle. And because, again, you have full access to the model itself using the bundle, you can do many other things. You can display IoT sensors. You can push the reading of an IoT sensor, a stream of data that you get from the actual IoT. You can push that data into the model itself and show it in situ in the model virtually. You can enable video streaming as well. Basically, you have access to everything. So you can display a video feed directly in the canvas. You can, for example, it could be a surveillance camera and you want to display what the camera is seeing in real time. You can even place those surveillance cameras in the model because, again, you have access to the model itself, and a surveillance camera could be a 3D object that you insert. And also, something that we released recently with the bundle is to give full control over the position of the user or the camera in the model, meaning traditionally in Showcase, the user will hop from one sweep to another or be in dollhouse mode and be able to navigate in the dollhouse. Using the SDK bundles, you can place the camera in the dollhouse anywhere you want and move it around to create some different effects and place it specifically in an XYZ position that you choose. These are capabilities. More interesting, I think, is to go into a series of examples. So let's move to first a few examples related to the SDK embed. And so what I would like to show is the actual examples. So Amir, if you can first go to the map and full control one. Thank you. And this one, we have just, so by the way, all of these links are going to be provided with the recording of this session. So please feel free to go there and access the links and play with it. Those examples are all available on our site, and I will give you the access to it, the way to access them in a minute. This first example is meant to show you how you can access the data, in this case, the floor plan view, that's the bottom pictures on the screen. This is a floor plan view that, again, is exposed via the SDK. Do you also, via the SDK, you can know all of the positions of the sweeps. So those are the ones we represent in yellow in the bottom pictures. And because we know the positions and we can control the position of the user in the showcase, which is a top picture showcase, we can now link the two. And here, Amir is clicking on those yellow sweeps, and we are moving the user in the top screen in showcase directly in those positions. A little below, we are not going to cover that, but you will see in that example, we also have access to the basic movements in Showcase, like moving, rotating, the style of transitions The point being that everything can be controlled via the SDK. So using the SDK, you can choose and create exactly the control that you want. And for example, create that what many customers call a minimap, which is essentially what we are showing in the second picture here, so that you can show the location of the users and help the users navigate larger space directly by clicking on the positions where they want to go. So that was the first example. Excuse me. The second one is about showing an examples of how you can connect what's happening on your site outside of Showcase to the experience in Showcase. In these examples, we are using it as a way to provide learning, so training and learning, let's say, to an employee, and we want to be able to quiz that employee and give some feedback in real time. As you can see, Showcase is here. Amir is able to navigate it, but also we can just click those buttons that are outside of Showcase to jump the user in a specific position in Showcase. That's what Amir just did. So now we jump to the kitchens because Amir clicked that button. And because we have, again, full connections between what's happening on your page and what's inside Showcase, the customer here, the user could even answer those questions. And as you can see, the question that is answered is reflected in the model. For example, here the target, the matter tag target changed to green because the answer was correct. The content now says correct in the matter tag. And if Amir changes the answers and make a mistake now, again, we can reflect the information. This is a simple examples to show how it could be used. Now, the point is that you can control a lot of the experience in Showcase from an experience on your site. And if you connect the two, you can really cater to your own use case and your unique needs. And the last examples we are going to try to show is what we call remote control. So this one is interesting. And as Amir is getting set up on that one, a minute ago, I was explaining that when you implement Showcase, the SDK, the experience really affects what's happening on that page where you implemented the SDK. And I also mentioned that if you wish, you can actually record the actions and you can push those actions to another implementation, another page of Showcase with the SDK, and you can replay what you saved basically in the first session in another sessions. And one of the applications that we are demonstrating here is what we refer to as remote control. And so what this is about is that on the left side, Amir logged as the host. On the right side, Amir logged as a client. So think of it as different person going to the same website. And now the left side is essentially controlling the experience that is on the right side. How is that done? Again, very much what I described before. On the left side, Amir is moving. We are listening to those events I was mentioning. So we know on the left side exactly what Amir is doing in the space. We are recording those events and using a server in the backend, in the background, we are sending and pushing those events to the right side. And it can be many users on the right side. We are pushing those events and replaying using the SDK those same events, which essentially reflect the same interactions now in Showcase on the right side. And by the way, something you will see for most of our examples, and this one is the case, at the top of the examples, we give a link to the source code. So if you want to learn how to do it, you want to get an idea how it's done, you want to get started maybe with a base code that you can enhance, feel free to look at those examples. They are freely available, the code. We are going to move on to the last sections, which is a few examples about the SDK bundle. Now that we understand that the main point of the SDK bundle is to be able to insert objects, let's look at a few examples of that. So if we start with virtual staging, what we are doing here, virtual staging, that's really applications you can think in the real estate world. This, in our examples, but of course, you have full control, you can create your own experience. We put those placeholders, those boxes in a space, and we now offer to the customers a way to select which style here, which model of coffee table the users would like to put. And same thing for the other placeholders. Now that's our quick examples to illustrate how it can work. it's up to you, of course, to make it more advanced. You could potentially allow users to, to grab and move those objects. We didn't build that here, but it's up to you. You have full control to do it. That's one example for the virtual staging. And because, by the way, one point, some of you may be familiar with some virtual staging services that are offered that modify the panels. Here it's different. We are really inserting the 3D objects in the model. Those are real 3D objects added to the scene, which means that they are available in all views. If we go to dollhouse view or even floor plan view, the objects are there, they have been inserted, they are available in all views, which is pretty powerful. Now we are going to look at a few other space placement in this space. So Amir, if you want to go to the thermostat, if you remember, it should be right there. So another illustration is an IoT device. So here we inserted a Nest thermostat. And again, if you listen to the data stream from that IoT device, then you can reflect in the canvas using the SDK bundle, reflect in the canvas the actual reading. So this is, in these examples, we would listen to the temperature of a Nest thermostat, and we're able to replay it in real time. Now, if you take these examples further, you are thinking of a factory where you have tons of IoT devices, or you are thinking of large properties where you have multiple IoT devices, security cameras, or what's not. Basically, you can provide virtual access to all of that information, and you can be in your office in Manhattan and walk inside your factories and be able to see all of your devices, equipments, IoT information, and alert systems remotely. I mean, if you want to go to maybe to the main space, we can also demonstrate video feeds. So here, again, in the Canva, we placed an image that is tied actually to a video feed, and it's real time. We are feeding a TV channel from one of those channels that is providing a direct feed, but we are able to grab that feed and just reproduce it in the Canva here in real time. And again, all of that with the SDK bundle, but more of an application. So you could think of it as a security camera where you want to see in the space what the security camera is seeing. Last examples that we will show on the bundle is, speaking of security camera, is that you could also input an actual security camera. So here on the top right, we are going to try to see it in a minute. We introduced a 3D object. Again, it's a virtual object that we introduced that is an actual camera. But what is interesting is that here, using the bundle again, we're able to project the field of view of that camera so that in these examples, the customers could understand what the camera is going to be able to see from that placement. And for the developers out there, the power that we are illustrating is that because with the bundles you have access to the geometry, to the OBJ of the space, you're able to do this kind of calculations. Here we are calculating the field of view, we are rendering the code, we are calculating the intersection of the field of view with all of the surfaces in the space. And again, you have access to all of that with a bundle, so you can create your own experience. And as I said at the beginning, I think from that point, it's really limitless. And if you combine everything that we've seen so far, the security camera, the spanning that we are looking at right now with the field of view, the intersections with the geometry, the OBJ itself, the video feeding that we were looking a minute ago, where we could feed what the video camera, the security is seeing, the IoT devices that could maybe give you some alert system in the model in case there is something that is detected by the security camera. If you combine all of that, really, you can create an experience that is unique and goes beyond the limitations that existed so far before we introduced the bundle. So that was, to finish that section, I would like to go to a last examples on the next slide. This one we haven't placed yet on the site, so I'm going to describe it. We just put for now a GIF because it's a brand new capability that we've just introduced in the bundle. Essentially, we are giving full control over the camera, meaning the position of the user in the space, of the camera in the space. And what that means is that now you are not tied anymore just to the sweeps. You have full control of where to place the camera. And in these examples, in a dollhouse view, we are able to place those purple dots that you see. The rest that we represent like with a kind of web, but of course it's just to illustrate it, you don't have to have that web view, but the web is called a spline. That's something that is available with the framework that we use to build the SDK, which is called free.js. And you can now create some experiences like this one, meaning a fly through, where you control where you want to put the different control points, and then the rest can be automated. The thing I would like also to mention as we look at this example is 3.js. That's really the rendering framework that we use. Don't have to, but if you want, it's very, very powerful to combine our SDK with some more standard 3.js capabilities to create some unique experiences. So again, that's available, and developers out there can totally create some unique experience like that one, which you frankly don't really see anywhere else. So that was about the examples. To finish these sections, because I want to give the last 15 minutes to the Q&A, to finish these sections, I would like to give you just a pointer on where to get started. It's pretty simple. Everything we've seen so far is available today on our site. Just go to our site, in the platform menus, choose developers. And from that page, on the developers page, you have access to all of the information I mentioned. The page also explains and gives you options to get started. As I said, our program right now, API, SDK, our full program is in beta, but feel free to join the beta, to explore, to start playing and build things for free. It's available now. Later this year, so in early Q4, we are going to fully productize. We are going to give easier access to the API and SDK so that more customers and more developers can join our program, both for private use and commercial use that I mentioned at the beginning. So that's coming later this year, but for now, feel free to experiment and start creating some unique experiences. I think you will have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really like those examples. That's really amazing stuff. Like I said, it's a treat to see like what, you know, the vision and where things are going, and the ability of taking advantage of the 3D you know, information that you get with Matterport, and what people are going to be able to do with this is really amazing. So very exciting. Thank you very much, Dominique, for doing that. And we'll open it up to Q&A, but before we go ahead and do that, I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have a massive amount of support information available. If you go up to that same, or if you go up to the resources tab in the top of any page on the Matterport website, you'll find support right there at the top. And it's a great resource. It's basically the hub for everything support related. You get access to the help center, which has a ton of articles about just about everything that's Matterport related. You'll also find the phone number that's relevant to you, depending on where you are located in the world. In the case of the US, it is this number right here on your screen, 408-805-3347. You can call that number and talk to somebody in person, as well as emailing us at support@matterport.com. We have had a lot of questions recently in social media and to the support team regarding the compatibility with the 1R. It is coming. It is currently available in beta and does require the latest firmware. So I've added a little image here that you can see if you go to Insta360's website, if this is of any interest to you, and you can download the latest firmware from them, as well as we have a link to that page actually directly. If you go to matterport.com/beta, you can find how you can be a part of the beta latest version 4.0.3 of Capture, which hopefully will be available pretty soon in a for everybody basically. So just wanted to get that out there, and that's about it. So finally, before we jump into the Q&A, if you go to facebook.com/Matterport, great way of just keeping posted on what's the latest things that are happening, with Matterport, with the SDK, with the 1R and things like that. So good place to kind of keep your finger on the pulse there, as well as, a lot of you have posted your amazing spaces, and they are truly amazing. So if you have a minute, if you'd like to share those, you can go to go.matterport.com/nominate-your-space, and we'll post it to the gallery, so everybody can see it and enjoy it. So that would be really great to see your space there. Finally, last thing, we did cover those examples that were really amazing with placing the 3D objects and the security camera and whatnot. We are going to have those linked in the description when we get to the on-demand. But right now, if you're interested, those 2 slides with all the clickable links are available as well in your handouts. So if you'll notice in the control panel on the right side there, you should have a handouts panel. You can open that up and download 2 PDF documents with all of the links that we used to get to those examples. So very cool. And with that said, let's open up to Q&A. So we've had some questions come in, and I've been assigning them to Dom. Dom, any questions?
Yeah, thank you. So yes, we received a few questions. So I'm going to start answering them quickly so that I can cover, because we got many questions. So that's very interesting. I'm really excited to see the interest in this program. So let me start with the questions from Michael. Will there be a Wysiwyg editor for working with 3D models in a Matterport 3D scan? So very good questions. And the answer is yes, we are working on one actually that is pretty advanced actually. It's not ready yet, but I hope it will be in the coming weeks. And it gives, if you are familiar with 3D editors, with software that allows you to, again, look at objects or get the coordinates of everything and move additional objects that you would insert in the scene in different ways so that you have the right information that will help you then create the experience you want using the SDK. So yes, that's something that we are working on, and that will be, I think, very, very exciting. So bear with us a few more weeks, and we should be able to announce something. Another questions, I'm going to read it. I have several clients that have asked for shopping cart. And that's a request that I get quite often actually from customers and partners. They wish to walk through the theme and give their client the ability to click on, for example, a cabinet and have a menu drop down, giving them the clients to select a specific style for the cabinet, a color, and probably to add it. I'm extending the questions, but probably to be able to add that item to the shopping cart. So is that possible? Can we do that with the SDK? And the answer is yes. There are different ways to do it. So I will just mention a few, and I'm happy offline, by the way, team and other, you can contact me if you want to deep dive on any of those questions. There are different ways to do it, and some of our customers are doing it today. So the simplest, I would say, that's not really the questions, but the simplest way would be to use matter tags. And we have some customers who put matter tags on every single object on the shelf so that the customers can click a matter tag. In the matter tag, there can be a description. There can be a link also that adds that object to the shopping cart of that site. But also, I mentioned a little earlier that now you can inject, that's a little new, but you can inject HTML or JavaScript into a matter tag. So you could totally imagine that you have a matter tag on the product, you create the HTML and you inject the HTML representing the different options for that product, even images or what's not, and you let the customer select the options and even have a button to add to cart. So that's something that is possible using our SDK. Another experience that is more evolved, but maybe more complete, is by using our bundle. Again, bundle, you can insert, as I said, any 3D objects, but 3D objects, that doesn't have to be an actual object that you are selling, for example, in the case of a commercial use. It can be a billboard, meaning a floating billboard that you want to place. And with the SDK, again, you have full access on what's going on in the space. You can know where the customer, the user is in the space, the XYZ. So if you, it's work, but if you map the locations of each of the objects on the shelf, if you listen to the events I was mentioning to know where is the location of the users and where they are clicking or hovering on, then you could pop up using the SDK bundle exactly what you want. Basically, you can pop up what you want, but it could be it could be a sign with different options that the user would be able to select in terms of style or what's not, and even a link again to add that object to the cart. So essentially, you have both capabilities, leveraging the Matter tags, that's a little faster, easier, or creating your own unique experience, leveraging the bundle, and you can create whatever you want in that case. So yes, it's possible to do it. I'm moving on. Samir has a question. I created a 3D tour via a Matterport camera, and I want to retrieve the OBJ. I can do it on the side by buying a Matter pack, but what about the API? I'm making it short. So everything that, and that's, as we add new products, that will be the case as well. Pretty much everything you can buy on the site by clicking on buttons, you can do it via the API as well. So that's true for the Matter pack that gives access to the OBJ. So using the Matter packs, you can, using the API, sorry, you can buy a Matter packs and retrieve the Matter pack all via API. Very much like if you buy it on the site, as you may know, you get invoiced for the cost at the end of the month. Same thing for the API. It's really exactly as if you click the button on our site, but via API. So yes, that's available. In terms of prerequisite, you will need to have access to the API, of course. And again, if you look at the developers page, you have information on how to get access. The other thing is all of the rules that apply on our site to get access to assets apply via API. So for example, Matter packs are only available starting at a pro and above subscriptions. Same thing for the API. If you have a starter, you will not be able to buy the Matter pack via API. Same thing, if you have a pro subscriptions, the Matter pack is only available for Pro 2 or BLK 360 model, not for 360 camera model. Same thing, same rules apply via the API. But essentially, everything you can do on the site in terms of buying assets or accessing assets, you can do the same via API. By the way, on that note, on the developers page, so we have links to our documentations. We have also on the support page a getting started for the API that gives access also to some snippet of codes. So some short queries that are popular queries that have been asked in the past. One of them is exactly that, about how can I buy a Matter pack via API? There is a block of code that you can just copy paste if that's what you are trying to do. It's available on the support site. I'm going to move on. Next questions from Nicolas. Does the 3D visualization layer use 3.js? Does the SDK expose the GL layer? So yes, our visualizations use 3.js. I'm not sure about the GL layer, but send me a note and we can get back to you on the details of that offline. I will need to check with my experts. Is it, sorry, questions from Hector. Is it possible to add sound? So we don't offer the SDK or otherwise capabilities to add sound. However, we have partners and customers who did exactly that. And they even triggered the starting of a sound file based on some specific trigger or activity in the model using the SDK. So they know that the user, for example, clicks on a button in the model, and they know that via the SDK, and they trigger starting playing a sound. But playing the sound capability is not something we offer. That's something that I believe, is available via standard JavaScript on the page that you can implement. Questions from Dean. Is there a way to use some sort of geofence to determine which room the viewer is located in? So that's a very good question. Geofence, not. However, that's where it becomes super interesting. I talked about API, I talked about SDK. Many use cases, depending on what you are trying to achieve, you only need the API or the SDK. There are some use cases that can benefit from using both in combinations, and this is one of them. So let me explain. Using the API, you can get access to the sweep numbers and so all of the sweeps in the models and the locations. And when I say locations, that means you can know, for example, in which room each sweep is located. Our vision pipelines that produces the mesh also creates some recognition of the room, so we know the bedroom, the bathroom, and so on, and we associate each sweep to a specific room. So using the API, you can know which sweep numbers belongs to which room. Using the SDK, you can know where the user is next to which sweep the user is in the model. So if you use both in conjunctions, you can know that user Amir is right now in the space in sweep 84. From the API, you know that sweep 84 is master bedroom. So now you know that Amir is in the master bedroom. So it's possible by combining the two. If we still have time, I will take a couple of more. So questions from Benedicti, Lauren. Is it possible to change color of wall, change floor materials, break walls, renovate, and modernize the room? So is it possible? That's something that is not offered out of the box, but that's something we are looking at. So today it's not possible. That's something we are looking at supporting. It may be possible if you do a combinations of 3.js and our bundle SDK. That's something we, again, have not fully explored yet. Questions from Sai. Is it possible to add counter in the model counting the number of visit live? I didn't think of that one, but I think yes. I mean, we showed you the example of the remote control, which the whole point of that was to show that you can, if you want, using the SDK, you can record actions in one space and do something with it. In the case of the remote control, we recorded action in one space and we were pushing those actions, the movement of the user, to the other session in that space to reflect the same activities. Now you can use the same techniques to count how many users, visitors are visiting each space. So you can record, you can detect, hey, there is a new activity. In the SDK, there is actually an event that inform you that a user is starting to play Showcase. So click the play button, is starting to use Showcase. So you can listen to those events, you can count them. If you want, you can display by again pushing that information to all of the sessions for that model. So you have full control over that using the SDK. Last one from Tyler. Are you working on an app marketplace for developers to create tools, it's a little small for my eyes, tools for other Matterport users to be able to use their models? Yes, I mentioned that very quickly at the beginning, but that's really one of the big driver and power of that whole program. That's what we refer to as commercial use of our developer tools. And our ambition is to let partners, developers out there, think out of the box, because frankly, we, Matterport, we cannot build everything. We build the platform, we give access to the data, and we enable partners and developers with API and SDK. But our ambition is to let partners out there, developers, create their amazing tools, amazing services, new assets, and partner with us to expose this. And yes, we are building a storefront that we call Marketplace. We are hoping to enable that and launch it later this year. That will give visibility on all of those amazing experience services that developers want to build, and that will give quick access to for our customers to access those new use cases. And that's a win-win-win. That's a win for the developers who wants to create applications and can generate some money with their applications. That will benefit customers who now have additional use cases and can get more value out of their model. And of course, us, Matterport, as a platform, we create the ecosystems and we help broker these relationships between partners with new use cases, new services, and our customers. So we are very excited about that. We are expecting to have a beginning of it being launched later in Q4 this year.
Very, very cool. Really exciting to see where things are going. Very excited to see, where the developers are going to take this and kind of ideas. And these questions just kind of give you started to scratch the surface of what people are kind of thinking of and what they're coming up with to take advantage of these tools.
Okay.
So very cool. All right, so that does it. We're just over the hour. Really, really appreciate everybody's questions. Dominique, thank you so much for presenting this information and helping us with the Q&A today. And we will see you all next time. In another 2 weeks, we'll have another Shop Talk episode, so please join us for that. And thanks again for joining us. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.